I'll redo my intro.
It's
All right. Thanks, Alex, for kicking that in. I appreciate everybody taking the time today to discuss XCaaS and talk to you about this new as a service, right? If you're familiar with the cloud world, you probably heard of a lot of these AAS type solutions. Well, we got a new one here for you today, but we're going to talk all about how 8x8 approaches this and collapse those communications channels. But before I do that, I want to introduce you real quickly to your Greg communications team. So, Lisa?
Thank you. Yeah. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with who Greg Communications is and what our relationship with 8x8 is, I'd just like to run through and tell you a little bit about us and what we do. So, Greg Communications has been in business for about over 50 years in the Chicagoland area, and we have an outstanding reputation for customer satisfaction as evidenced by our NPS, which stands for Net Promoter Score of over 93%. And that score is driven by our customers' opinions of our service and our efficiency and our knowledge. Um, so if you note, like that score probably doesn't mean a whole lot to you if you don't really know NPS stuff. But so we stuck in a note here just to let you know how we do rank. The industry average is only 38. So we really are way up there with our 93%. We do have a great team here at Greg. Some of the folks on the call, you guys already have established relationships with your sales reps. Our sales reps' average tenure is over 20 years, which is unusual these days. So, with those amount of years of experience in the industry, our team is very well equipped to suggest options that fit your business's particular needs because they are very well rounded, have a lot of knowledge. So, one of our great partners that we work with is 8x8. So, we've partnered up with them today for this presentation. So, at this point, I can toss this back over to Brian to go through his presentation. So, over to you, Brian.
Appreciate that, Lisa. And the Greg Communications team is going to be your first stop. So if you are interested in anything that we have to chat about today, I encourage you to reach out to your Greg Communications team as they're going to be sort of that gateway into accessing additional demos, finding out more about how 8x8 might fit into your organization. So I do encourage you to reach out to them. So this is a little bit of why, like the biggest reason why we're here. The second slide I have for you is going to be the second biggest reason that we're here. But your peers in the industry, this was a research conducted by Hanover Research, have stated that, and 87% of them have stated that they're moving to integrated communications platforms. And the big drivers for this are many, including productivity, supplier sprawl. So if you just have way too many suppliers in your organization, it gets very difficult to manage. But one of my favorite reasons they're considering this is this here. By moving to an integrated cloud communications platform, again, this was another study done by MetroCheese, that they found that there was a 56% reduction in the total cost of ownership. So think about that. Think about your own landscape. You might have one provider providing a phone system, might be using another provider for your internal boardrooms and conference rooms. You might be using yet another one for external video meetings. And then you start getting into your customer experience side of your house. Are you using a different technology for SMS for your business, or outbound or inbound channels, or digital channels like email or web chat or social media, right? When you start looking at how your organization communicates, not only internally, but externally, you start to come to some really interesting conclusions about that. The number of technologies that you're using, the overlap in those technologies, and more importantly, the cost of those technologies. So let's talk a little bit about how 8x8 is doing this, and who we are, and kind of where we're positioned in the marketplace. One of my favorite numbers on this slide is the one in the upper left-hand corner, is that we are a single platform provider, meaning we're not piecemealing this solution together with a bunch of different providers, creating more confusion in the sales and deployment process. By working with us, you're going to find a single provider that's providing not only a UC solution, but contact center solution, CPaaS. I know it's another AAS for you to learn. We'll talk more about that. And then we even have our Teams direct routing solution, all owned by 8x8. So when you think about us, you're thinking about a single provider through the whole process. Another favorite number of mine is the one in the middle right, the cyan colored one here, the number of patents. That is doubled in the 3 years that I've been at 8x8. And a lot of that came over the last year and a half or last 2 years from the start of the pandemic. We found that um, our clients are using the platform differently and had bigger drivers and different drivers for their business needs and communications needs. So we listened, we adapted, uh, we added those capabilities to our system, and along the way, added more patents. And that's because we're an engineering first organization, so we have that talent in house. Few more numbers here for you. 10-time UCaaS Gartner Magic Quadrant leader, making us the longest running leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant. We're a 7-time CCaaS Magic Quadrant challenger, making us the only one that is on both the UC and CC Magic Quadrants with Gartner. This just furthers our position as a single platform solution. And what you'll also find is that since we have that position, and that's not new, right? 8x8's been doing this UC thing for over 20 years. We've been doing this contact center thing for over 10 years, right? So we're not just some new kid on the block, touting our technology. But the number most businesses care about is the 5 nines platform-wide, financially backed SLA that we offer across our platform for our clients. And what I will encourage is if you do have questions, feel free to pipe up or drop them in the chat as we move through this. Interactive presentations are always a little bit more entertaining. So feel free to ask those questions as we move through. So I always like to throw this up here because, Gartner has a little bit of a reputation as pay to play. So I like to say, hey, it's not just Gartner. It's IDC, it's Frost & Sullivan, it's Forrester, it's Ventana, it's Tally Group, it's Aragon Research. They're all saying the same thing. So when you're working at reforming your internal communications needs within your organization, you know that you're working with a platform that you can trust. So how do we do it? What does it actually boil down to? You're like, Brian, that's nice. We've sold me on the company, but what is it that 8x8 does? What is your technology? Well, it all starts on the employee experience side. This is the thing that we're familiar with every day, right? This is the phone system that we work with. This is the messaging solution that we use, including support for SMS. This is the video solution, which includes support for our boardrooms and conference room integrations, but as well as what most people think of with a video solution, and that is the video meetings you're having with your colleagues and prospects every day. And so 8x8's bringing that all together in a solution that we call 8x8 Work. So on the right-hand side here, you're going to see the various experiences that 8x8 has. 8x8 Work is our standard desktop application that houses our employee experience solution. On the other side of the house, you have customer experience, right? This is your top of funnel, tip of spear type groups within your organization. So this can be sales groups, accounts receivable groups. This can be internal IT support. This can even be one of my favorite examples I like to use is because we can offer a full platform solution. We go in with discovery and curiosity in mind around your organization. So we were working with a company that had a 9-person receptionist group that supported about an 80-person executive group. And listening to them and how they communicated and who wanted to talk to who and what type of channels came in, we're like, guys, that's really more of a contact center technology. And I know you wouldn't traditionally consider that a contact center because when I say contact center, most folks think of a bunch of people in a cube farm with their headsets on and their heads down, hating life, right? And those contact centers still do exist, but for most part, contact center technology is just improving your communications channel with an audience, right? And those can be customers, this can be a group of executives in this point. But going back to this receptionist group, we ended up designing a solution for them that used things like skills-based routing. So when Tim called in, he always wanted to talk to Tom because Tom knew his wife, his kids, the birthdays, the anniversaries, all the information. So they wanted to use skills-based routing. So those two always got connected. But then for all of the other interactions, email, SMS, were all directed to the receptionist group in whole. So whoever was available could answer that next question, right? So having that ability to really lead with curiosity, lead with discovery to understand what you're doing, we can help build the solution. And why it's important that 8x8 is a single platform is because we're offering the ability to mix and match our licenses. I'll talk a little bit more about that. But what that really means at the end of the day is you're just working with one provider at all times, regardless of the solution. And we can just right size the license for the persona. So we back all of this up. Well, let me add a couple things here because I was requested to do so. So talking on that customer experience side, we also have that ability to escalate interactions. This is some of this stuff is coming in some future iterations. We have a really exciting roadmap over the next about 18 months or so with rapid deployment of phases. So we're currently in a phase one of revamping our uh, customer experience side or our 8x8 contact center. And that's agent workspace. So we've done a full UI refresh on that. And then coming phases, we're also going to be bringing this solution into the 8x8 Work app. So you don't have to access it from a browser or your CRM anymore. But we also are going to bring some really interesting things around omni-channel and breaking away from a multi-channel approach. So for those in the crowd that aren't familiar, there's essentially two approaches to escalating interactions or having multiple interactions within an organization. You have multi-channel, which is the ability to bring different channels of communication to your customers, but they don't generally uh, uh, aren't able to move from one interaction to the other and store all of that data. So right, so say if somebody starts with a text message and then it needs to escalate to a phone call, being able to keep that customer record and track that whole behavior, that would be an omni-channel feature. Where multi-channel is, yes, I offer SMS, yes, I offer voice, but they don't really escalate to one another. And we've all been in this experience, right? Where you call into your credit card company or your bank or the airline, and that conversation may have started on the website, or you called in from after an SMS conversation, and they ask you all the same information they already asked you in the chat, right? And that's because that interaction is not linked. So we're bringing a lot of capabilities to that omni-channel solution over the next few iterations of our solution. Today, a lot of our offering is multi-channel. However, we do have some omni-channel capabilities with conversations starting in SMS or starting in web chat and then being able to connect to voice. But the data store for those are not linked today, but we'll have that probably in the next few months here. So supporting that is all the fun stuff that you think about, right? Analytics and AI. I say fun stuff because I'm a nerd and I like this, but analytics and AI, right? You really want to track the behavior of folks within your organization, especially on the customer experience side. But we're also bringing that capability to the employee experience side with things like our Conversation IQ offering, which is this full speech analytics and quality management offering, meaning we're going to be able to track things like sentiment, obviously the full transcript of the conversation, and we can even search those interactions by agent or customer origination of a comment or a statement. This is oftentimes used for things like competitive intelligence. You want to know when your agent is saying your competitors' names or your customers are saying your competitors' names, because one of the things that often says like, well, why don't you offer that? XYZ company offers that, right? So if you can gather that information, that's great competitive intelligence, but you're also able to understand what types of conversations are occurring, or um, which can promote opportunities for coaching or kudos with those agents. And I'm going to use the word agents, but this can be sales folks. These can be customer service reps. These can be your internal IT help desk. So when I say agent, I'm just referring to folks that are taking those inbound interactions. And then when we get to AI and integrations, that's when you get into like the really nerdy stuff. That's when you are doing things like natural language processing. So I can speak my issues into the machine and it can either reply right there and then, or it can pre-equip the agent with additional information by the time they're getting connected to the customer to help um, to help solve the problem quicker. And then speaking on interactions and moving a little bit further here, or integrations, we are really pride ourselves on our integrations. Over the last 6 or 7 years, we've done a ton of work to revamp our code base to make it more API focused, meaning we offer the opportunity for folks to be able to integrate into us, as well as we can more easily integrate into other applications. So we have over 35 out of the box integrations. These are going to be some of the most common business apps and CRMs that you use on a daily basis. But we also have a general philosophy as an organization that as long as the API exists um, to perform the task you're looking for, we're willing to engage in a professional services agreement to build that out. So I literally every week still get asked about a particular platform that I have never heard of before, and we will actually spend the time, go look at the API documentation, and figure out if this is something that we can do and help you create the communication strategy that you want across your organization. And then finally, CPaaS. CPaaS is going to be a communications platform as a service. I like to think of it as the connective tissue between applications. This is where you get into really interesting stuff to allow different business apps and different solutions to communicate with each other across an organization. If you have any questions, I know this was a lot. This covers many different verticals for a lot of organizations. The numbers don't lie. Most organizations are not going to find all of these technologies with a single provider, let alone it to the maturation level that 8x8 offers each of these solutions. So if you're looking for additional consolidation of your technology stack, again, I'd encourage you to reach out to your Greg communications teams, and we can explore any aspect of these further as you see fit. But let's round out the story here of what XCaaS offers. I mentioned that ability to mix and match licenses, to right size the license based on the persona within your organization. This helps drive down that total cost of ownership. Gone are the days with 8x8 where you all need to be in a certain level of license to have a feature. Like one person wants SMS, so now everybody needs to be in that level license, even though not everybody's going to use SMS. So with our solution, you do. I'm going to actually the beauty of using Google presentation. I get a laser pointer. So you can do everything from having an extension to extension dial only solution, moving up to your basic shared use or knowledge worker. That's going to be your standard business license, all the way up to your front desk or IT admin, which is our top tier UC license. They're going to have additional capabilities like our receptionist console, more in-depth analytics, the ability to be an admin in Barge Monitor Whisper groups. Yes, we offer Barge Monitor Whisper on the UC side of the house. Or if you want to move upstream to true enterprise level contact center solutions, then we can move into our contact center licenses, which all again have different use cases, and you can right size those for your team. Everything from a voice based contact center to start adding that multi-channel capabilities, all the way to layering on speech analytics and quality management, outbound dialing capabilities with our top tier license. So regardless of the persona in the organization, we're going to be able to right size that license for that user. And fun fact with our contact center licenses, we're not only offering the contact center portion, we're also offering the underlying voice license with those. So some of you here may or may not know this, but when you talk about contact center solutions, contact center is really just the routing and analytics layer. You still need an underlying PSTN access to make that work. And 8x8 bundles that together. Obviously, we can peel that contact center portion off and layer it over the top of an existing phone system. So if you're not quite ready to make a move on that side of the house, we can offer a crawl, walk, run strategy with 8x8. And this is also super important, right? Our reach is one of the biggest things. I always love talking to customers and partners alike because we have either one of two reputations. One is that we only do small opportunities, or one we only do large opportunities with global footprints. And the true nature of that question or that statement is the fact that we do both. Like regardless of how small your organization is, we don't have any minimums. To how large your organization is, we don't have any maximum. Our largest deployment is over 67,000 seats spread globally. leveraging our entire stack of our solution, all the way down to our smallest opportunity is a single seat with 8x8. So really independent of your type of business or size of business, we're going to be able to help you, as well as regardless of where you're located. As you can see here, we cover 35 locations and regions with our technical footprint, but this has allowed us to do some really interesting things. One of those is we're able to offer full PSTN replacement in over 50 countries. We're the first to do so, and currently the only one able to offer that. This also applies to our Microsoft Teams direct routing solution. It's 50 minus one. Unfortunately, we still can't support our Teams direct routing solution in China, and that has more to do with Microsoft's relationship with China than 8x8's relationship with China. But this has also granted us this experience. We've actually deployed our solution in over 120 countries. And sometimes they require a gateway device, or you're going to have different rules and regulations around porting. But we have the experience when it comes to global. So if you're looking for a local solution all the way up to a global solution, we're going to be able to support you. And we back this up by being hyper secure. I always like to say this is not in response to anything, cough, cough, wink, wink. Some of the other meeting providers out there had some issues with security and compliance at the beginning of the pandemic. That was not something that we struggled with because we had a strong security footprint from the beginning. So, regardless of industry, government, the healthcare, if it's a foreign solution, you see GDPR here. This also applies to the Canadian Data Protection Act, California Data Protection Act. Where, regardless of where that data protection needs to be, we already have the pieces in place to be able to provide that data sovereignty and security that you're looking for. You see all the technical certifications and compliances here as well. So regardless of your industry, we got you covered from a security standpoint. And I've mentioned it a few times, but I would be remiss if I didn't dive a little bit deeper into this. Part of our XCaaS solution is the fact that we are a Microsoft Teams direct routing provider. And I know I opened just a bag of worms there, but you might go, well, Brian, isn't Teams a direct competitor of 8x8 with everything that they offer? And I would say in a lot of ways, yes. We like to call it co-opetition. But we have the ability to be the underlying PSTN access for Teams. So that means the user will live 100% natively in Teams. They would actually have no idea that 8x8's involved in the solution. IT would, though, because there's some setup on the back end, but they would use the calling solution right in Teams. They'd hit the little phone button. They would make their calls right in Teams, and then 8x8 would handle all those transactions. And by having 8x8 behind the scenes, you're going to be able to do some really cool things. You're going to be able to provide disaster recovery in case of a Teams outage. You're going to see some nice quality of life stuff that's on the screen here. So the ability to SMS from Teams or access fax from Teams or have a graphical interface for logging in or out of call queues. All of that's going to be now at your fingertips. Now, if you decide to leverage this optional 8x8 app, you'll also notice that none of the calling is done here. All that calling is still done natively in Teams. This is just a value add quality of life app that we offer and 100% optional. And also, the little stamp at the bottom is my reminder to tell you that we are a certified contact center provider for Microsoft Teams as well. So if you get into these situations where you have a traditional contact center or call center, or you're trying to build one out with teams that already exist within your organization, then we're going to be able to assist you in not only our native solution, but in our Teams direct routing solution as well. What's a presentation without throwing up a NASCAR slide? I'm always a little iffy on NASCAR slides, but what I really like to point out about this and what I really like about this is if you take a look at the industry, we're not honing in on a specific industry. We have that capabilities to ebb and flow regardless of that industry type. So take a look here. If that matches close to what you're doing, we're going to be able to assist you in reforming your communications needs across your organization. You'll see here Regis in the retail space. Regis is our largest deployment at over 67,000 seats. But we don't have our one seat clients out here. But you can see there's a range of deployments both in industry and complexity. Some folks leveraging our full XCaaS solution, like Regis, to others that just needed a phone replacement, or yet others that just wanted a contact center and additional information around speech analytics and quality management. That ability to approach this in a modular fashion is huge. So, a couple things to leave you with. What does moving to an integrated platform really do for your business? This was again another study done by Metrigy in 2020 and 2021. In this study, they were analyzing integrated communications platforms or communication strategies. And what they found was that when doing so, that there was an agent efficiency increase of over 37%, or 37%. I shouldn't say over 37%. Uh, in That's really kind of simple to think about. If you have less windows to juggle on your screen, you're not going to take longer to answer a question. You're not going to have to go find information because it's all right at your fingertips. You're not going to have to question which interaction is done where. It's all in a single window, single panel for them to see. And what the secondary effect of this is the one that we're really after, is a 57% increase in customer ratings. So if we're familiar with NPS or CSAT, we know nines and tens are promoters, right? So nines and tens are going to be really sticky customers that are not that are also going to go out and tell their friends to go use this service, right? So not only are they happy, they're so happy that they're recruiting for you, thus increasing those customer ratings. But then the secondary effect of that is 2xing your revenue. So communications strategies and platforms for organizations do not have to be a cost center. They can be a revenue generating center, and they should be. And because we cover so much across an organization, we can help you pull in the right stakeholders across the organization to help find or help make this the right solution for a company at large, rather than just, say, standard business users. So you can really help solidify that argument. So that's what I had here for you today. If you have any questions, I encourage you to reach out to your grade communications team. We can go deep and wide. Today was meant to be a teaser. If anything that we covered is of interest and you want to know more, let us know. But Lisa, do you want to close us out here?
Sure. If you guys have any questions, you can absolutely, I think you have the ability to unmute yourself. You can also put something into the chat real quick. So we definitely can pick Brian's brain here if you have any questions. Um, and I just want to mention, if there's anyone on the call today who does not currently have a relationship with a Greg account manager, please contact Dave Laterno via his email or phone number that you see here on this slide, and he can make arrangements to get you connected with one of our account managers based on your particular needs. Like, what kind of things are you looking to do? If you do have a Greg account manager, please reach out to that designated sales rep as a first step. So we can just kind of pause and see if anybody has any questions. You can go ahead and hop in. Also, we definitely want to mention we do have a good number of people on the call today. For those of you that we are not as familiar with, please let us know what organization you are with. I think we have about 9 people on the call here that we would need to know what company are you with so we could get your gift cards to you.
Yeah, and I'll hang out here for a few minutes, so don't feel pressured to find the unmute button or the chat here. Uh, so if you do have questions, feel free to ask. I know we're scheduled to the top of the hour, but again, meant to be a teaser. So if you have those follow up, let us know.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see anyone popping in. So, um, okay. So yeah, thank you all for attending the webinar today. Keep an eye out for the link of the recording of the session, as well as for your gift card if we get the company that you are with. We do appreciate your support, Thank you, Brian and Alex and Nikki from 8x8. We appreciate you guys spending some time with us today and sharing your expertise. And we look forward to working with all you guys in the future and helping move your phone systems future forward. Um, so if there aren't any questions, we can let you guys get back to your day. I don't see any coming in.
Awesome. Well, in my world, silence is golden. That means we did our job.
Thanks all. Thanks for
All right, great.
organizing, Lisa. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks,
All right.
everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye bye.